Hey, Kevin here with the Rusty Dusty Picker channel. Thanks for joining us again. This is where we make things out of discarded items, things that we find at garage sales, yard sales, thrift shops, estate sales, and all that fun stuff. Sometimes at the curb too. Anyway, this is our subject for today, and it certainly is rusty and dusty. It's a prop from a boat, and seen better days. However, it will make a heck of a craft, I think. So I threaten to make things nautical in nature, and then I usually get distracted because something else makes better sense. So this time I have no excuse. So far I just have the prop. I guess it's about 10 inches in diameter, you would say. And then I've got this kind of cool piece of wood, which was a shelf. Piece of shelving I picked up along the way somewhere, and it has these. I'm sure that there's a technical word for what that's all about. I don't think it's termites or anything, because the board, the board itself is, yeah, I don't know, but it's cool anyway. There's no bugs in it now, and it's already been washed out like this, which is kind of cool, which kind of matches the motif, for lack of a better word. So yeah, I think the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to use a little soap and water on this prop, just to get it looking a little bit better. I'm not going to touch any of the patina. I'm just going to get some of this this darker dirt off, so it's not filthy when it's done. And other than that, I have absolutely no idea what I'm going to do, or what I'm going to say, or what I'm going to actually, by say I mean what I'm going to write on this, if it is indeed a sign. So that's what we're looking at for now. Let's see what we do. All right, we're back. Just did a little soap and water just to get the surface dirt off, as I promised. I'm not going to do much more than that. Cleaned up pretty well. Rusty and dusty. So yeah, I think what I'm going to make out of this is just a simple directional sign. Perhaps have it say bay with an arrow that way, and ocean on this side with a directional signal, an arrow, and attach this the prop to this board here. I think what I'm going to do, I pulled a bolt out, and I think I'm just going to, with a couple of washers, screw the bolt right into this board, trying to leave myself about a little less than the width of the board. I believe it's 1 inch. So I'm going to use just the right amount of washers, hopefully, that I don't go through the board as I do that. So I'm going to position the prop so that it gives us the most room possible for the letters. As you see here, I've got just a little more room for beach because it's a longer word, and all that jazz. So let's get it positioned here. And what I'm going to do is, this bolt is going to screw into this, but this board is pretty hard. So I'm going to drill a hole, just a little starter hole underneath to get it going. And in order to do that, I think the best thing to do is to take a Sharpie. So hold on while I reach. I'm going to grab a Sharpie, and I think we're okay right about here. Yeah, what the heck. And I'm just going to drop the Sharpie in and make a dot, I think. Alright. So there you go. There's my sloppy dot. But it's going to give me a spot, at least that's within milli-inches of where I really want it. So put it right there. Let's drill that hole. Hang on. Alright, so just a starter hole. We're not doing anything deep at all. I just want to give that little screw bolt thing something to grab onto, so it's not bouncing around. So I'm just going to give it about 1/8 of an inch or so to get started. So let's see how that works out. Now, if this doesn't work, if I'm not happy that it's sturdy enough, holding this on, it doesn't have enough grab with essentially about an inch worth of wood, then I will actually attach it with a bolt on the back with a different arrangement. So let me grab a bit that fits the head of this bolt and see if we can do this live here. Stand by. Right. Drill bit out. Okay. All right. Let's see how we do. First, I have to guess at where that hole is, so I'm going to put it through and try to position it there. And let's see how we do. One-handed on the camera, one-handed on the drill. Let's see if we can get it started at least. And then I'll have to position. All right, it's grabbing nice. So I'm going to position the washers so they look good. So just make sure where everything's centered. See if we can keep that. We can't. Okay, we're good. Boom. Attached. Did we come through the back? No, we did not. So we got the right depth. Happy with that. Sorry about the camera bouncing around, but I'm trying to do things one-handed as usual. So, all right. Let me get some paint and some stencils, and we'll get rocking. All right, so moving right along, we've gotten started with the letters here. Alternating sides here between the bay and the ocean side. Just to let the side that I worked on previously, which in this case was the ocean side, I'm going to let that dry, just so I'm not disturbing it. And then I'll go to this side, which is partially dried, and keep going. Once again, I'm going to try and do this one-handed. I like when you guys can get a little closer in. Actually, it's not possible to do it one-handed because I got to hold the stencil. Anyway, for your sideways viewing pleasure, we'll just do an A. Just gently. I'm using a brush that's too big for the stencil, so I just got to be careful not to get it onto the board. Hopefully the paint management department got this right. Yeah, not too bad. Not too much bleeding at all, which is what we want. So I'm going to keep going. I just wanted to show you how I do that, especially when it's hot out like it is now, and it takes and humid. It takes a while for the paint to dry. So I go back and forth, rather than just waiting on one, which I'd like to think makes sense, but we'll see. So I'll do a few more. And we'll jump back into this. So here we go. One more, and that's it. Looks like we did squeeze this in here somewhat successfully. So let's finish up the lettering. Then I have to figure out what sort of stencil I might have, or maybe I'll just create an arrow in each direction, and how to do that. So that's what we'll do next. Just figured I'd show you the finishing of the lettering. So there we go. Ocean, bay, ocean. And we're going to find somehow to put directionals. So this works very well where I happen to live, because we live essentially sort of on a bay with direct access also to the ocean. So anyway, we'll be right back and solve for the arrow directional thing. Peace. So we've arrived at the arrow part. You might see that I've added one here on the right side for the ocean. I'm not making them straight on purpose. I want them to go off in different directions. You know, straight and straight is just a boring sign in my head. That may or may not be the smartest thing, but that's what's going to happen here. So I'm going to grab that same arrow from this particular stencil that I have. I'm going to find a clear place on here with one hand. I'm going to send this one off in this direction. A much more, I guess you'd say, acute angle. Very scientific. Alright, so let me throw that in there while you're watching. Using a more useful brush for stencils. That last one was a little tricky. Big fat one, not good. So let's just see if we can't just slip this guy in here. Another pleasant little arrow. Getting you to the bay. And I'm quickly going to show you as well something I kind of thought was cool. You may or may not think so, but I'm going to share it anyway. So there's your arrows. You know, kind of rustic looking. Now, the other thing I wanted to show you is that, you know, when I put things on signs, I put an accessory on a sign, and it's going to hang on a wall. I typically will lower the piece on, say, the piece of wood, because you'll be looking up at the sign on the wall, and otherwise, most of the time, you'll be looking underneath whatever that accent piece is, or what have you. So I always bring it down maybe a quarter, not much more than that, sometimes a third. And I did that in this case just out of habit. But the cool situation with this, because of the weight of this propeller, is that this piece now, I just discovered, sits very nicely on a shelf. Like that. So even though the board is tilted backwards quite a bit, the weight of the propeller and being lower, the center of gravity lower, it very securely just sits, which is, I don't know, I thought that was kind of cool. And that being the case, I'm not going to go through the process of putting a wire or anything on the back at the moment. Typically I would include that in the video, but what I'm going to do instead is just let this dry and think if there's anything else I need to do to it other than maybe a clear coat, which I probably will do on the lettering and the arrows, and then probably call it a day. So I'll be back. So moving along again, we're going to, this is just a little look at putting on a clear poly water-based Minwax job. Give it a little protection. Hopefully it gives the wood just a little bit more character. I almost just painted the camera. If you play this back, I almost literally just applied this to the camera, which is a little scary. Alright. Let's hit the other side real quick. Going with the grain as always. Doesn't take much. If it's an indoor piece, just one coat generally is fine. You know, if you're doing furniture and stuff, I guess they recommend that you do a coat or two or three and sand lightly in between. But for an indoor piece, it's just going to give it a little bit of fingernail protection, I guess I call it, where you just don't want the paint to flick off if it's handled or rubs up against something. So hey, that's what I wanted to show you for this. So we'll come back and what I'm actually digging is that even though I was brushing lightly, it's aging the lettering because it's so humid that the paint after 2 hours still wasn't dry, which is odd. Generally it's about 10 minutes. So we're getting some sort of a weathering on here, which I'm going to keep. I'm not going to correct. So that's in real time. Another happy mistake. It's amazing how many of those I make. But yeah, so let's just give it a look. So now it looks a little bit weathered. I'll take it. Booyah. Alright, we'll be back again. And we'll finish this off and get ready for the next project. Alright folks, so that is indeed a wrap. This is completely now sealed off, the wood at least. Prop is as is. You can see the very careful weathering on these letters just came out so accidentally perfect. So yeah, good times. I just want to thank you for joining the channel today. Hit some buttons if you enjoy this type of a thing, and we'll see you next time. Peace.